All right, fine, I'll do it. Hey, everybody, welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs podcast with a couple of Cubs fans here who don't have a lot to do with the Cubs right now, podcast-wise.
Isn't it a bummer that we, intentionally hurt our careers by not booking stuff in October just to hope to watch the Cubs, and then when they don't make it, we're just sitting here?
Yeah, and I think I do wonder if people should know that is a true thing.
Yeah.
We do, as comics, you only get paid when you do the work.
And often when you do the work, you still don't get paid.
Yeah, so it's a fun, kind of cool, sort of bohemian combination of things that way. We don't like to play by the rules, and by rules I mean union rules or societal labor laws or any of that stuff. But we both are people who actively try to not book things in October.
Yeah.
And we've been I think we've probably both been doing that since
2016 for me, I think.
Since 2016, yeah. I think I started probably 2015, even though I didn't expect it to happen. Yeah, and now it is just it's weird because we both, as stand-up comics who host the show, I'm Kevin, he's Adam. We are just kind of home and watched all the Twins games.
Please don't tell me you were delusional enough to keep your October open in 2012, right?
No.
Okay.
No, I booked my Octobers during the tanking times until 2015. I think I had some stuff, but after that, I've stayed completely blank in the Octobers. But yeah, now
we're like Eddie Vedder, except we can't afford to not work.
Yes, exactly.
It's a mistake on our part.
It is a mistake, and we all make mistakes. Ask the Cubs from this year. But you did get to see some playoff baseball.
I did.
Right?
I did. I was at the Braves-Cardinals game on Thursday. I am happy that I left before it went awry.
Yeah.
But I was there. If any of you follow us on Twitter, and please do so if you're not at Away Games Pod, I posted a little poll the day before saying, hey, I'm going to be down there. I was thinking wearing a Cubs hat. Mm-hmm. Do we think that would be a dick move or just a reasonable thing, or maybe just don't do any of that? And then based on the overwhelming responses of wearing Cubs things, I decided to just go balls to the wall, and I wore a very aggressive Cubs tank top.
Was it kind of a tie-dyed tank? Am I making
it's
that up?
It's a lot, yeah.
Sure.
It's something that should not be worn anywhere other than maybe a beach.
Critics say it's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah, but you did. Yeah, that sleeveless, also bringing the guns to the show.
Also that.
Yeah, which in Atlanta is fine. You probably can just bring guns to the stadium.
Yeah, while it was an aggressive move Cubs-wise, outfit-wise, it was not that aggressive because it was 97 degrees.
Yeah, that's wild. And how was the playoff atmosphere for the
Cardinals? It was good. I really hate the chop, and it bothered me every time it happened. Even though I'm not that kind of Indian, I was still offended.
Yeah, you don't have to be.
But I'm just, a person. And it was cool. I mean, it was very loud in there, and people were jacked up. And I'm sorry to say that largely the Cardinals fans who saw me wearing that were very nice to me.
Yeah, and I think you did say that on the Away Games Pod Twitter, where you're like, well, the Cardinals fans have been pretty cool down here.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I went I hadn't been to St. Louis for a series before this year, before we went and totally tanked it, but the fans I ran into when I was in St. Louis were also pretty cool. I felt like our weekend there, I've run into much worse at other away games.
Totally. I mean, the only thing I noticed was as the game moved along and then the Cardinals were losing until the late innings, that's when I started to see a little bit more of the hey, fuck you guys didn't even make the playoffs sort of energy, which I get. I mean, to be fair, if I were at a Braves...
This weekend.
Yeah,
right.
When I was there. Mm-hmm. If I were at a Braves-Cubs playoff game, and I saw somebody wearing a Cardinals tank top, I'd be like, what the hell, man?
What are you doing here?
Right.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Right. And I do wonder sometimes, what are you doing here, especially for the playoff games and stuff like that. Still have beef with John Hamm for rocking the Cardinals hat at the Cubs World Series at Wrigley, because specifically, you in that situation, you're using up a seat. Mm-hmm. In between Cleveland and the Cubs, who just haven't had a World Series like this, you just went to be a hater. That's gross to me. Especially knowing what kind of money I paid for seats at Game 3.
And also, if you're John Hamm, you're going to be on TV wearing that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I don't think any cameras found the weird Cubs fan at the. But sure. I almost certainly was the only person out of about 45,000 wearing a Cubs thing. So
There you
that's
go.
cool.
Represent. And how was the you were there for a comedy festival, right?
Yeah, I was there for the Red Clay Comedy Festival, and it was great. It was very fun.
Yeah. And not all comedy festivals are.
No, many of them are not. Many of them are like actively using you and making a bunch of money off of you and not giving you anything in return.
Right.
Whereas in this case, other than flying down, like everything was covered.
That's badass.
Meals, hotel, all that stuff. Shout out to the Hotel Claremont. Basically, have you heard of the Claremont Lounge?
Oh, yes. And
have you been?
I have been several times.
So if you're listening and you've never heard of the Claremont Lounge, you know how, generally speaking, if you go to a strip club, when you see strippers, you're like, man, that's someone's daughter up there. At the Claremont Lounge, you're like, that's someone's grandma. Like, that's
yes.
a person's grandma.
Yeah, that is a person's grandma. I saw a thing that at the Claremont Lounge where I don't know if this translates, just speaking it into existence. Mm-hmm. I guess
it's something to see more than to hear, for sure.
It's really a bar where people are naked more than it is a strip club.
Yeah, it's not really a strip club.
Right, but you go in and people they get naked,
Mm-hmm.
but it just seems like they got lost and wandered in naked. Like, are they okay naked more than like they're being sexy?
Yeah.
And there's this one that I guess it's a deal where she crushes beer cans under her heavy boobs.
Wow.
Okay, so I guess that's a thing, but. When I just caught the aftermath of it, and she was pulling it from like behind her. So to me, it just looked like she found a beer can in her ass. Like, it didn't look. I didn't know a trick had happened.
Oh my God.
I thought she was just like, "What's this?" And it's just like, "Oh well, it used to be a PBR." But
well, if there's any question to the rating of this podcast, we've answered it.
Yeah, most of the baseball podcasts stay clean for the most part. I think
maybe that's what's costing us.
Maybe so. Well, we're clearly not good at business. We just talked about how we're not working this season while the Cubs are also taking it off. So that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, even like the guys at Cubs Related, I think for the most part, they even though they're explicit online,
right?
They keep the pods.
Well, maybe we'll rebrand sometime.
So fucking good for them and everyone else. It's great, but
Will Smith don't got a cuss in his rap to sell records.
It's true. It's true. We and Will Smith. Yeah. So I guess should we talk about Cubs stuff now, or we'll wrap up where the playoffs are right now for us. How you feeling after for where we're at in the first round right now?
I mean, I'm excited about the prospect of 2 Game 5s. That's always fun. I would not. Part of me would actually feel really bad for the Dodgers if they got knocked out in the first round after the last few years.
Me too.
I would like to see the Nats move on. Like, I actually like the Nats, I think, more as a team than the Dodgers, but I feel like the Dodgers just are better and deserve it more, and I would like to. I hope they win the World Series this year.
I think we talked about this a little bit last week with Ken Schultz, but how I do like when teams who deserve it win. You know, I like good underdog stories, or I like teams who deserve it. I don't like, not to pick on the Cardinals again, but like like an 83 win Cardinal team winning the World Series. I don't like when people just accidental law of averages their way through into winning the World Series. So in that way, yeah, I would like to see the Dodgers win one. I would like for Clayton Kershaw to have one. Rich Hill's great. You know, like there's a lot of guys I would like to see win a title there, and they've certainly been one of the class teams of the league for this generation, really. But yeah, I love Max Scherzer, and there's a lot of the Nats guys who I actually.
You see how fired up he was last night when he got out of that?
Oh yeah,
7th inning.
There's almost no pitcher more fun fired up than Max Scherzer to me. So it's that was cool to see. So yeah, I think I feel sort of the same way about that, and I think we're both rooting for the Braves in Game 5.
And we've jumped ahead a little bit. I don't think we had the games had happened yet the last time we recorded, so we've gone right past the wild card games.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
that
right.
Brewers Nats game. Oh, doctor,
that was pretty nice.
Oh, I loved every second of that. I feel bad for Grisham,
sure,
because that sucks.
I do too, but the game was going to be tied anyway.
Right.
You know, so it's when people are like, oh, he lost it for them. Not really. Hader gave up the runs. I mean, Hader gave up the runs so that he blew the lead. He blew the save. Yeah, and then the Grisham error certainly led to the third and the go-ahead run there. But, yeah, oh man, it was so just could not happen to a nicer dude than white power Josh Hader. So boy, that was really
shout out Cato Kalin.
Shout out Cato. Good Lord, yeah, God bless.
I assume he found a way to blame that on Counsell.
Yeah, he really hates Counsell, which is weird because of all the things to hate about the Brewers. As a Brewers fan, I find Counsell a little annoying as a dude, but he does.
I mean, in the words of Cato Kalin, Counsell makes so many gaffes. He should be a film gaffer.
That's what yes, that's literally Cato's words. It's also weird because even if he wasn't in showbiz, really, like he lived in Los Angeles, he
knows gaffers. He's got to know gaffers.
That's not what gaffers don't do. Gaffs. They like lay down tape for your spots. They run cable and carry things around.
You heard it here first. Cato Kalin has a fundamental misunderstanding of a gaffer's job.
Yes, exactly.
This is the hot news we bring.
It is.
It was great, and it really felt like I have no particular love for the Nationals, but it felt like a franchise-altering win.
Yeah. Well, they've never won a series, which is still true to this point. I mean, you can kind of say the wild card game's a series of one, but they've never won a playoff series, and the Cubs are to thank for some of that.
It was a real like monkey off your back sort of game, and also that eighth inning was very weird, and it was kind of like the Nats getting their version of what the Cubs got against the Nats, which is like just a weird ass inning that goes their way.
Yeah.
Because that inning against Scherzer a couple years ago, with that insane like interference call and a hit by pitch and a pass ball, like all that
pick
stuff.
Off at first on review.
Right.
It was just truly one of the weirdest innings. And since neither team ended up winning the World Series, it's sort of forgotten to time. But that was one of the weirdest innings I've ever seen in baseball.
It was like 5 or 6 straight people getting on base a different way. And in the same way, in this inning, you get Michael Taylor getting hit by a pitch, which I don't think he was getting on base if not for that.
No.
Zimmerman gets absolutely jammed, and his bat shatters and the ball goes into center field.
Yeah.
And then Soto's just incredible.
Juan Soto
He's 20 years old.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He is unbelievably good, and he's good in ways that seem to be sustainable for a long time.
His discipline at the plate is unreal.
He walked over 100 times this year. He's 20. He walked over 100 times.
If you had to pick one, would you rather have Soto or Acuna on your team?
I feel
like Acuna because he's better defensively, but it's tough.
It's a great call, and I would say Acuna, but they're two guys who, if they don't get hurt, these are Hall of Fame, straight up true Hall of Fame talents, and there's not a lot of those. Either one of those guys is you would take for the next 15 years. They're both super young. Acuna's got more of the, he has a few more tools. Obviously he went 37-37 this year, not quite as sexy as 40-40, but steals a ton of bases, plays really good D. You can play him in center too, and Soto's below average D and left, and you can pretty much only park him out there in left. But Soto also looks to be like a 300, 400, 500 slash guy forever. You know what? He just has the hitting skill that will probably... He also... Whereas Acuna, obviously, you lose athleticism with time. I feel like Soto's skills will erode more slowly. They're more sustainable skills.
And how old is Acuna? He's like 21?
21, 22, yeah. They're super young, super great. Real cool talents to see like playing right now,
And here's a quick recap of the AL wildcard game. It happened.
Yeah. Whoops. I was really looking forward to that game, too, and the Oakland fans were cool.
I would have loved to see the A's win.
Yeah, I like Sean Manaea.
It's not, like, it's hard to blame... It's not the Rays players' fault or anything like that, and I'm not going to shit on the fans who are there because they're there.
Right.
But it's such a bummer to see a stadium that can't even fill up for a playoff game.
There just shouldn't be a team in...
There really shouldn't.
There. Florida should get one team, if that. They haven't really proven that the state is worth 2 baseball teams.
Here's a question, and I think I could just guess the answer.
Yeah.
Because Florida does have 2 baseball teams. The Marlins and Rays, if you combined their attendance, I imagine are still below the majority of teams by themselves.
Like below average?
I'm saying if you combine the Rays and Marlins total attendance for this year, I would be willing to bet that combination of those 2 teams is still below most other teams individually. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like they couldn't combine to be one above average attended team. Well, let's pull this up on
our friends at Elias Sports Bureau.
Yeah. So, in terms of average attendance this year, the 29 and 30 were Tampa and Miami.
There you go.
And Tampa averaged 14,700, which is probably ambitious.
Actually, more than I would have thought, honestly.
And more than actually showed up, as we know with all these numbers. And Miami averaged a little over 10,000. Absolutely wrong.
Okay, so that means a combined, 24, 25?
Which, so if they got to combine all their home games and count all those people, they would have finished right between Cincinnati and Texas. That would have been, if they combined teams, they would have been the 19th best drawing team in the majors, and it's 2 teams. There should not be 2 teams in Florida.
It's insanity.
Send one of them somewhere else. It sucks because Tampa Bay is such a cool organization otherwise.
Yeah.
Everything else is cool. They have the worst stadium. The location, it also, at least for Tampa fans, it is an incredibly difficult stadium to get to, from what I understand.
Just because it's in like St. Petersburg.
It's like a logistical nightmare, basically, to get to. So it's just poorly done all over.
Well, didn't MLB at some point say they were thinking of some crazy thing where the Rays were going to play like half of their games in Montreal and half in Tampa?
Right.
Which sounds logistically like a nightmare.
It's insane, and it's crazy because it's for those families. It's and for the home team, it's really that makes 2/3 of your year away, or 3/4 of your year away games, really.
That's a good name for a podcast.
It really is. And Adam, if you had to guess, now the Dodgers had the highest attendance in the league this year, which they often do. They're a good team. That
highest attendance between the 3rd and 6th inning.
That's good. Yes, that's a good way to put it. That would be, we should get Fangraphs to really break it down. What seats, like weighted linear weights about how long during each game the seats are filled, would be interesting to see. But they also have by far the largest capacity, so that also helps them pump up their numbers.
What were you going to ask me to guess?
But a good way to sort of even things out is to see how teams draw on the road. Right? Because it sort of levels it out for teams that travel around everywhere. So if you had to guess the top road draw or top couple road draws, let's say, in the majors this year.
It's got to be Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, Dodgers.
Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, Dodgers. That actually, the Yankees were all the way down at 6.
That's shocking.
And Boston was down at 16.
What?
Yeah, that is a big surprise to me. The number 2 draw was the Dodgers. Number 3 was San Francisco, which is good on Giants fans in a year when they were a bad team.
Yeah.
Number 1, you boys, the Chicago Cubs,
nice.
The highest drawing team on the road this year. So.
And you can feel it, honestly. Like we've been to many Cubs games in not Wrigley, and it's like noticeable everywhere you go.
Yeah. So that's
I guarantee you there would have been, because there were a good amount of Cardinals fans, but there definitely would have been a ton of Cubs fans down.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, back in 2003, that was how the Cubs took over that stadium when they beat the Braves in that series. Well, that's fun. That's some interesting stat stuff we didn't even plan on talking about today. And look at that, it gets weird in the off season.
So as for the other playoff series, I mean, Twins Yankees was about as predictable as you might have guessed. I was hoping the Twins would put up more of a fight for a 100-win team.
I want them to get one win because
the Yankees just own them so bad.
The Twins have the major league record for most consecutive losses in the playoffs. Now it's at 15, I think. I mean, that's 5 years.
Which is bad, but perhaps not as bad as the A's having lost 9 consecutive elimination games.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
That is brutal too. What was even more brutal than that was 108 years without a championship.
That was was also worse.
It just makes it when you turn it around for good. It's nice.
So Twins Yankees, not a lot to say there. There's still a lot of the meathead idiot narrative of I can't believe we traded Gleyber Torres.
I can't believe we're still fucking talking about that.
It's insane to me. Like if the Cubs didn't win in 2016. I could understand making a case for that, but even then, you still made the right move at that time. Like he was 19, and he's clearly as good as we hoped he would be.
Right.
But it's not even a discussion, is it?
No, it's not, because Adam, if I ask you why do you want good players on your team?
I would say largely to win a World Series.
Right. So, if you win the World Series, you did the players right.
Right.
At least to some degree, and you can quibble with it on the margins, I guess. But you beat all the other teams. There's 30 teams. You beat them all. You're better than all of them in a year. So your players were better. They did better. That's why you want good players, is so you win. The Cubs won. So they lost this good player to get another good player, which, by the way, I didn't like that trade when it happened. I did not like...
More so because we didn't want Chapman on
Didn't want
team.
Chapman. I would have been cooler with giving away all that for an Andrew Miller at the time. But yeah, I just don't know what people get out of still beefing about that specific
Yeah, if you're
trade.
going to shit on a trade, shit on the Jimenez and Cease for Quintana.
Right, and I guess Jimenez hasn't quite blown up like Torres has yet, and those
Right.
guys were signed in the same international in the same like international signing period. Jimenez and Torres were right at the top, so just another reason to. It's one of those things. There's so much to keep track of: draft, prospects, all this stuff. But that's one of the things to. That's why it's kind of fun to pay attention to the international signings because they can end up being these
Right.
guys. And that was the last year the Cubs really like dominated because I think Jimenez and Torres were, if not 1-2, like two of the top 5 prospects.
Right. And the Cubs
at
had given Soler money a couple of years prior. Mm-hmm. And that's another stupid thing that people are. Be nice if they still had Soler.
And yeah, it would.
Yeah.
But also, that's like Soler just got good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had not been good since the trade until this year.
Right.
And we got a shutdown closer for a year where we got to the NLCS.
It's not like we traded him for Brandon Morrow and then he never pitched. Like Wade Davis was great in 2017.
Yes. Going back to that Washington game we talked about earlier, just close with an old school multiple inning save. That was a deal, and at the time when the deal was made, I felt like, ooh, okay. I felt like it hurt, and I was also happy with what we were getting, which I think tends to be the sign of a fair trade, right?
Right.
You know, and the Royals took the years of control and the upside of Soler on a reasonable contract, and the Cubs took a pretty sure thing, high end closer for a season, and I also have no problem with that deal.
Yeah.
I have more problem with like the deals like where they dealt Mike Montgomery while we have possibly multiple spots in the rotation open next year, dealing Mike Montgomery for Maldonado and then Maldonado for Tony Kemp. We turned Mike Montgomery into Tony Kemp with Maldonado in between. That shit doesn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me at the time. And dealing Tommy La Stella for Connor Lillis White last year too was another one that I have more problem with those kinds of deals.
But they've also made really good trades, and like getting Castellanos was huge, and even trading Edwards for Wick. I don't know what the hell the Padres didn't see in Brad Wick, but he looks pretty good.
Yeah, Brad Wick for CJ. It seemed like that was sort of I know Wick had struggled in his major league time at that point. But I think for both teams were kind of like us, change of scenery deal here.
Right.
And then speaking of Wicks, another good deal, Jason Vossler for Rowan Wick.
Right.
It's a great deal. Love that. I mean, you can hardly think of the bullpen without Rowan Wick now.
Have you? I haven't watched a lot of the Astros Rays series. I watched a good chunk of yesterday, but I didn't watch the first two games. Anything interesting going on there?
Not really. Just the Astros are really good. I mean, the Rays pulled off the one win, right? So we're at 2-1 right now.
Yeah. So they play tonight. We're recording this Tuesday afternoon. I would be surprised if the Astros didn't wrap it up tonight. I actually don't know who's starting for them. But
it's Verlander.
Is it Verlander?
Yeah. So who's pitching like one of the best pitchers ever in his prime right now. And so is Garrett Cole. So that's just... And the Astros won 107 games this year, and it seems like they almost got lost in the shuffle talking. It's like... It's just an incredibly powerful team, and the rotation is crazy.
Right.
And... the last time a team won this many games over a 3-year span, as the Astros have, it was the Orioles between 69 and 71. So that's how long it's been that a team was this dominant in the regular season.
It's. I mean, the big thing here is that if they do somehow lose today, which I don't think they will, then it really puts them at a huge disadvantage against the Yankees, even if they win Game 5. Because already in going to a Game 4, you're using Verlander tonight, which means that he can't go Game 1. Because I think Game 1 would be Friday.
Yeah, that
for the
makes
ALCS.
Sense. Yeah.
So, we'll see. But I've not watched as much of the AL stuff. Both the NL series have been really fun, and you gotta love the Cardinals blowing it with 2 outs in the ninth.
Gotta love Carlos Martinez talking big shit to Ronald Acuna, and Yadi Molina is another guy who talks about that shit. And then
did he respect the game when he threw the bat into center field?
Tomahawk the bat 100 yards into center field.
Which I don't have a problem with,
no.
But I do have a problem with doing that if you're going to talk shit about Acuna having fun.
Which he does, yes. We know Yachty tried to fake fight Cole Hamels for why, I don't know. He's just a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite of a guy, and he gets he's sort of, in many ways, he's taken over the Derek Jeter mantle of just like free pass on everything.
Right.
And people writing their own positive narratives. And by people, I mainly mean, besides St. Louis fans, like national media, being like, oh, this magical guy, I saw someone, I think it was John Heyman, I hope I'm not getting that wrong, but I think it was John Heyman. He's bad anyway, so it sounds like it could be him saying that Yachty, whatever the stats say, he's twice as good in the playoffs. And someone else dropped a stat that like Yachty's OPS is under 700 in the playoffs, like in his career.
The thing about saying he's twice as good in the playoffs is that we also have access to playoff stats.
You can prove this. Yeah, I think Ken Schultz quote tweeted that at Ken Schultz _.
Yeah. No, it's all the intangibles, man.
Oh, Jesus. But and again, intangible shit is fine, but Yachty is such a D-bag. On the field, maybe he's a wonderful man off it. But it's some guys are D-bags on the field more than others. Yachty also made a throat-slashing gesture, which I guess they said Acuna did a couple days ago. I don't mind going back and forth like that.
Sure.
But, like you said, you don't get to talk about, respect the game like you've been there, and then you fucking literally throw a bad overhand into center field.
I don't have any particular dislike of Wainwright, and I think he's a pretty damn impressive pitcher, but it was kind of funny to see his beautiful, perfect start get ruined.
Oh, yeah. Was that the game you were at?
No. That was game 3, so he pitched eight shutout innings, or maybe gave up 1 run. And then that was the game where the Braves were down to the last out, and Swanson got that huge hit, and then Duvall got that hit.
Right.
So we're going to a game 5 in both series there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're rooting for the Braves. You're more Dodgers than Nats, right?
But I don't really. Either way, I'm just rooting for them to go to the World Series and probably win.
Yeah.
I'm basically rooting for the winner of the Nats-Dodgers series. I'm rooting for that team to win the World Series.
Right. Yeah, no matter, even if the Braves advance, I would still root for the Nats or the Dodgers over them.
Yeah, me too. So I think that's right. It's kind of fun to get to talk about the other teams. I guess that's the upside, the Cubs being out. We don't really talk about the other teams unless they're playing the Cubs on this podcast. But
right.
Yeah, but fun news. And Yankee fans chanting Uber at the guy who was an Uber driver.
Come on.
Get bent, dummies. That just could not be a more unlikable group in the stands. And I know there's plenty of good, not all Yankee fans. I know there's plenty of good Yankee fans, and Cubs fans have embarrassed me before too. But holy shit, is that dumb and bad. And I don't know if you saw, but Cameron Maben, my friend Ben Kleinman alerted me to this. Cameron Maben tweeted something like, I would rate that game a 4.99 or something. That was that player's Uber rating. And that player responded by saying, like, hey, man, if you need a ride, I'll hook you up. And Cameron Maben has had a DUI. So pretty sick burn by the Uber driver.
Do you think he knew that?
I think so. And then Cameron apparently Maben deleted it and was like, hey, man, I didn't mean anything by it. It's like, well, okay.
What do you mean by it, then?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I guess he. Yeah.
It's like the baseball version of that dude from the Cosby Show who people shamed because they took a picture of him like working at Trader Joe's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Exactly. It's like It's he has a job.
Yeah.
He got a job. He's supporting himself. Yeah. It's so gross.
Let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, baby.
And then we're going to get into talking about how we did. And also how the Cubs did in terms of looking back at our predictions.
From the beginning of the year. We always do an episode at the beginning of the year. We lay out our predictions for the year. So this, after talking about all the other playoffs, we're going to go back in and see how we did at the beginning of the year and do Cubs talk.
Spoiler alert, we were wrong about them winning the World Series.
Yeah, I got that one wrong for sure. But
okay.
But yeah, hit us with who's bringing this to us.
Once again, we're sponsored by Thrive Fantasy, a new DFS app for prop bets. They have streamlined the drafting process and eliminated the need to do unnecessary hours of research by using only top-tier athletes. So instead of the traditional salary cap format, you build your lineup around a list of prop bets. Each unique prop has an over and under point value assigned to it, and you will be rewarded that point value if the prop is correct. Basically, the less likely the prop is to occur, the more points the choice will be worth, and you build your team score around the amount of correct props you select. Now repeat that back to me, Kevin.
Okay. Thrive Fantasy.
Yeah. Anyway, you can use promo code AWAYGAMES, all one word, and get a free $10 bonus with your first deposit of $10 or more at Thrive Fantasy. Check it out. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Make some fun playoff bets.
And people have been checking it out. People have been using the promo code AWAYGAMES, which will get you free money if you do it. And people have been doing that. And we know that because when you do that, it helps our podcast. We get money so we can keep doing this. And you have been doing that. So thank you for doing that. We very much enjoyed hanging out with our friends at Thrive Fantasy. Once again, Thrive Fantasy, code AWAYGAMES.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So let's talk predictions.
All right. Where do we want to start? Do we want to just go by this list? Do we want to start with like wins and playoffs? Because that actually, let's I'm gonna run this damn ship right now.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about how we did in terms of our overall playoff predictions, because that's what we were just talking about.
Sure.
So for NL playoff teams, Kevin, you said the division winners would be the Nats, the Cubs, and the Dodgers.
Okay.
You said the wild card winners would be the Brewers and the Cardinals. So you got 4 of the 5 playoff teams.
Which is the one I missed?
The Cubs.
Yep. God dang it.
Shit.
But, I had the 2 other Central teams making it.
Yep.
And I guess so the Braves are I missed the Braves for the Cubs.
Yes. Ken actually had the same exact picks as you. And I had the same division winner, so I had Nats, Cubs, Dodgers, and I had the wild card. I was drinking that red Kool-Aid. I had Cardinals and Phillies.
Phillies, yes. That's right.
So
that's how that did.
Your boy Bryce playing some golf while his Nats are riding high.
Bryce, who had a good year, by the way.
He did have a good year, yeah. He's no Descalso, but he's fine.
No, he can't fix an offense by himself like Descalso, but yeah.
Yeah, but does he have the same character?
Yeah, does he really get
the
on people's asses?
Intangibles, Kevin, the intangibles. All right, AL playoff teams. You had the division winners as the Yankees, Indians, and Astros. Mm-hmm. And your wild card teams, swing and a miss.
Yep.
Red Sox and Angels.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I'm all in on the Angels as my American League team if Madden signs there, which by the time you hear this, he might have. It seems like imminent.
Yeah, it seems imminent, and I would... Joe Madden's really my pick for who I think the Cubs should have as a manager next year, but if he's not going to be, then yes, I would like to see him. It's a nice narrative. He gets to go home to end his career, I think would be kind of fun. Yeah. He spent decades in that organization, and with just a team full of fun guys. Tommy La Stella, the best player in the world, Mike Trout, and Shohei Ohtani. I would like to see that, and I would probably stick with them as a wild card next year if Madden goes there.
All right, let's see. Ken had the Red Sox, Indians, and Astros as his division winners, and for the wild card teams, he had the A's and the Yankees. So that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. I guess he had. Well, I mean, everybody thought the Indians were going to win the Central, so that's not that surprising.
Right.
But, I had the same division winners as Ken, so Red Sox, Indians, and Stros, and my wild card teams were the Yankees and the Rays.
You called the Rays,
and he called the
A's. So yeah, nice job, you guys.
And as for our hot World Series picks,
these aren't looking great.
Well, all of us picked the Cubs in different numbers of games, but you picked as far as who we thought was going to get to the World Series on the other side. You went with the Yankees. Ken went with the Red Sox. And I went with the Astros.
So you and I have half a thing.
Yeah. We have a little bit at stake here.
Right. All right.
Now, if the Yankees do play the Astros, would you be rooting for the Yankees?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. I just kind of truly don't care. I mean, it's... The Yankees have won so many times. I just don't.
Right.
I know not this collection of players necessarily, and I like a good amount of the guys on the Yankees right now. It's a pretty fun team, but I just don't. I'm not really moved by the Yankees.
Right.
I'm just really, and I'm not a guy. I know some people. I feel like it used to be. It was more of an old school thing where people would be like, "I'm a National League fan." I don't really give a shit about that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just in this case, unless it's the Cardinals, I'm pretty much rooting for the NL. Every other NL
well, yeah,
because
I mean the Astros have just won, and the Yankees win all the time.
All these Astros have already won before, except for Greinke. But would Greinke even care? Would
he celebrate?
It's the thing is like sure. It's Alex Bregman's one of my Bregman and Altuve are two of my very favorite players anywhere. They're just super cool, great. And George Springer's awesome. They got a lot of cool guys, but I just really. I'm just rooting for 7 games in that series because it's two extremely good teams.
Right, and if it's Dodgers Astros, cool, but we just saw that.
Mm-hmm. Right, Dodgers Yankees would be at least a different matchup. Yeah.
So, all right, that was our playoff predictions. Let's take it from the top here. Let's start with our prediction for overall Cubs MVP.
I feel like I did better from this point on, but go ahead.
Yes. Do you want to just do you and me, or should I throw Ken's in
we can
there?
do you and me.
Okay.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So you said Rizzo, and I said Contreras. Mm-hmm. And I thought that this could be the year that it all comes together for Contreras, which I largely stand by.
Absolutely. I mean, he put together a great year. He missed a couple of weeks, injured again, but everything else I thought was pretty good. Whatever. It's I almost feel like the Wilson Contreras figuring out framing conversation is sort of like how it used to be every year with Jay Cutler coming at like, oh, he looks good. It looks like he's putting it together this year. Yeah. And I don't know. I hate framing in general. But we did hear from Theo that supposedly Wilson figured out something toward the end of the year, and the numbers started to look better from a framing perspective. But you take framing away, and Wilson Contreras is the best catcher in the world. Like, it is, I mean, JT Realmuto's right there, but basically he and Contreras are more or less a wash offensively. Contreras has as good an arm as anyone. It's basically him and Realmuto have every other skill, but Realmuto's a much better framer.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's not wrong. I would say I do think Anthony Rizzo was the MVP for the Cubs this year at the end of the day.
Well, he sure as hell proved it to everybody playing with a... If you haven't seen the picture of Anthony Rizzo's ankle and you're not squeamish, look it up, because the idea that somebody played baseball on that kind of injury is astonishing to me.
It looked crazy. It looked worse than you would have expected, and he came back after
and hit a damn home run on that ankle.
Mm-hmm. And and the numbers, granted, the juice ball affects things, but the guy once again, and he put up 27 homers, 94 RBIs. And it's very likely that if the Cubs were still playing for something at the end, he could have gotten to his normal. That would have been his fifth year with 100 RBIs in a row if he didn't shut it down, which he did after the Cubs were eliminated. But you look at the slash lines here. He hit 293, got on base at a 405 clip, career best, and slugged 520. That's good for 924 OPS, 137 OPS plus, 37% better than the rest of the league. Once again led the league in getting hit by pitch. Once again played Gold Glove level defense. And did all that, and was a guy who was playing through extreme pain at the end of it, and playing less than 100% and producing when it mattered. And so, yeah, I think I got that one. I think Rizzo was the Cubs MVP this year.
I think so too.
Yeah.
This next one, I look a little foolish here. Our breakout player, you said Schwartz, and you also mentioned Happ. I went with Almora, and. I think this was more of Almora's Russell year, where it's like maybe he just is what we are afraid he might be.
Exactly,
as a player,
right? Which is what we said about Russell going into the previous year. And we've talked about how Almora's numbers really took a dive after the incident in Houston,
right?
And it's too bad, man, because it really in the spring. It really looked like he was launching the ball more. He's a guy who can hit the ball very hard.
Right.
And it just did not come around.
And honestly, we'll probably get into this on the next pod, but of all the guys who might get moved, he seems like a very high candidate for like change of scenery guy.
I think so. Also, I mean, he's a borderline non-tender candidate too. We might because you think it's almost 0% trade value at this point, even though he's a high pedigreed prospect.
I think you get like a low level minor league.
If you can get like the Cubs got Rowan Wick for Jason Vossler, and that's a guy who you wouldn't think Almora has less value than him right now. Right. Almora's a guy who can play plus defense in center field. Had a couple of notable gaffes this year, like a Hollywood gaffer out there in center, right, Cato? But yeah, I think I could very well see him going to. That's a guy I could see like wherever Madden goes, possibly going as like a borderline major league roster guy and finding his way
25th man sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, and as for
could be 26th man next year too. There's going to be one more spot.
And as for your picks, I mean, Schwartz and Happ, obviously Happ wasn't even on the team for much of the first half of the year, but once he came back and towards the end, like I think Schwarber and Happ, if you look at their numbers in the last month or two of the season, were absolutely breakouts.
Yeah, I mean, I think Schwarber undeniably broke out more than he ever has, and Happ. You take the part of the year he was up, and that's career best stuff from him. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, Schwarber and Happ for sure.
As for bounce back, I guess Ken and I just didn't participate in this one, but because we only have there's like a list that I made here. But you said Contreras or Darvish, and It looks pretty good.
I think maybe why you guys didn't participate is because we just basically all agreed it had to be that.
Yes,
you know? Right, exactly. Because it's just like, there weren't a ton of guys. And I mean, going into next year, trying to pick a bounce back is going to be tough too, because so many guys had good individual seasons, you know? So it's not really that. And so I think Contreras and Darvish were really the only options there.
And again, I mean, first half of the year, it looks like, okay, I guess Darvish is just bad.
Yeah, he was bad. I mean, he was incredible in the second half, right? The strikeout, 170 plus.
If you have that over a course of a full year, you're talking like Cy Young candidate.
Absolutely. You're talking like a historically good year. Even though weirdly with his 170 plus strikeouts and like single digit walks in that second half, still the ERA was just a touch under 3, which is great. You'll love it for a full year, but it's not what you would think with the peripherals, because you're still going to give up bombs, basically. Weirdly, he just gives up bombs, and if he gives up anything. But yeah.
So next up we have regression, and we kind of all nailed this here. Yep. Your predictions were either Hamels or Lester, and mine was Zobrist, which is not. I mean, he didn't play for much of the year, but I think we were pretty right about those picks.
Yeah, I think so, and that's I guess we're correct, but also not super interesting picks because it's the oldest dudes. But I mean, that is what happened, and I do think going forward here, I guess you could stretch and see a world where Zobrist is your 26th man next year, or where they sign him to a one more year deal to be like, if you want to put a full year together, or a heavily incentive-based contract possibly, and try to keep some of that leadership around.
But speaking of somebody who might want to go be with Madden.
Zoe right? Go to Anaheim? I mean, I could see that. I would say it's, Zoe's probably either doing one more year in Chicago, a year in Anaheim if Man's there, or he's done.
Or serving as Ross's bench coach.
Yeah, hey man, I'm into that.
I would be more excited about Ross if I knew Zobrist were his bench coach.
We're coming with him, yeah.
Because I feel like personality-wise, they're very different.
I think so too. Yeah, it's two different.
Ross seems like more of a hard ass.
Yeah, it's two different kinds of leaders for sure. I think Zobrist is almost for sure. If he's not playing, I think he's home doing family stuff. Right. I think, almost surely.
And update on the Cubs managerial selection. It looks like right now they've talked to Ross, Loretta, and Venable. And then I think tomorrow they're talking to Milton Bradley. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Really that bring a different element to the clubhouse. Real sociopathic element that we were missing before. Milton Bradley, bad guy. If you're a new Cubs fan, Milton Bradley, a real human piece of shit. So
not a hot take there, just an objective.
fact. No, this is a fact.
All right, most important bullpen arm. You and I both said CJ, and that tells you how far the man fell quickly. Like I guess I had said at that time that he was coming into his Almora season. Yeah. Which is like, either he's something or he's not. And unfortunately for both of them, they appear to not be.
Yeah, to me, the weirdest thing is CJ, I think he really got boned to begin this year because he worked this offseason on sort of a funky Kenley Jensen-esque delivery, which everyone let happen in spring training and then suddenly was illegal during the year.
Yeah, that's insane to me that was not... Like, that can't happen.
No, from an umpiring standpoint, from the league standpoint, figure it the fuck out. Either it's legal or it's not, but...
and things that are legal in spring training are not... Like, there can't be... The whole point is to prepare you for playing regular games, so don't call them differently.
I think he really got boned on that. I think that hurt him. That's obviously not everything, but fucking with your delivery. I mean, little mechanical things. Right. That's a big mechanical change. Little mechanical things can really throw you off. Tyler Chatwood, who was really good who was good this year and could be fighting for a rotation spot again next year. Yeah. Even though I really like him in the bullpen role he had this year and would like to see that expanded. He had a much smaller mechanical tweak that had him just awful last year into good this year. So that's a big thing. Also, it's just CJ used to throw easy 97, 98 heat. And this year, he was just, it seemed like it was 93 all the time. And I don't know what happened. Because he's always been small. He's obviously an extremely skinny guy, and so it's not that, but it's I don't know if it's a mechanical thing or just the arm burned out quick or what. Right. But I really hope he gets it together in San Diego because I love that guy and I miss him.
Yeah, he's great. I think every Cubs fan is rooting for him. You're an idiot if you're not. Frankly.
Yeah, he got 2 of the 3 outs in that last most important inning. Remember.
Absolutely. All right, we got a couple more. One bold prediction. you said Hendricks wins 20. And honestly, obviously he didn't get close to that. But if you were to look at his numbers, they're probably not that far off from other people who won 20 games.
Yeah, in the history, almost no one wins 20 games anymore, so that's a silly prediction.
And he got historically bad run support.
Yeah, which he seems to frequently. But he really did this year.
There's always one. It was always this year, Traxel gets no support. And next year, John Lieber gets no support. It's
Yeah, and Yu Darvish had that really weird streak of no decisions no matter what for forever. Hendricks did not win 20, but Hendricks is still the ace of this team.
How many did he win? 12 or something?
Oh, let's see. I'll pull it up. But yeah, you could keep going while I...
Yeah, and then my prediction, so we'll need the Cubs stats for this as well, because I think it happened, was that I thought 5 Cubs would hit more than 25 home runs. And the Cubs that I named were Rizzo, KB, Wilson, Javi, and Schwartz.
So Hendricks went 11-10.
Okay.
This year. Only started 30 games. It's tough to win. 20 out of 30. Hang on.
And let's see the offensive numbers here. I did also have another prediction that did not end up coming true, which was that Q would end up having kind of being closer to the guy we thought we were trading for, and unfortunately that did not pan out. But
no, if September didn't exist, he would have been decent, and September he was just really, really awful.
Yeah. But I said, Rizzo, KB, Wilson, Javi, and Schwartz would all hit more than 25.
Would hit more than 25. Wilson hit 24, but you're right otherwise. Rizzo 27, Baez 29, Chris hit 31, and Schwarber 38. And Hayward hit 21.
That's amazing.
Castellanos hit 16, and he was just here a minute. Ian Happ hit 11, and he was just here for a minute. That you stretch that out for the year. Caratini hit 11.
How many did Happ hit?
11.
Wow.
Caratini 11, Bodie 11. So 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 different dudes hit double-digit homers for the Cubs this year.
How many did Almora get, did you say?
Almora hit 12.
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine hitting 12 homers in 339 at-bats and still being that bad offensively.
Yeah,
that's hard to do, but he did it. But yeah, I think Quintana's kind of in the Hayward spot right now, where Hayward had that stretch in the middle of the year where he was actively good offensively.
Yeah.
Right? And then you look up at the end of the year, and Hayward is sitting here with an OPS plus of 98, meaning 2% worse than league average. Hayward, God bless him, has not been a good offensive player in any season for the Cubs.
Nope.
That's it. And I love him as a guy, and he's a player who still has value. But even his breakout year, 2% worse than league average OPS plus,
and making a lot more money than league average.
Yeah, which fine, make that money. But it's just it's sort of the Quintana thing, where it's I'm rooting for these dudes. You're rooting for these dudes, but. If we're going to talk about baseball like it's real and what's happening on the field matters, these guys have not been good.
Yep,
they've not been nearly as good as you hope. We've gotten a lot of the worst years of Jason Hayward's career in a row. And that sucks. And he's busting his ass, and he's a great guy. Yada yada. But
yeah. And the last one, which I think will kind of be a nice way to lead us into where we're heading likely next week in terms of the podcast. For trade deadline predictions, you said Terrence Gore or Billy Hamilton. Fair prediction. And I know Hamilton did get traded because he's on the Braves. I don't know if Gore stayed put.
I think he ended up with the Yankees one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got Tony Kemp. That was the Cubs' answer to that, basically.
Yeah. Tony Kemp, who, to be fair, is Terrence Gore's size. But he is not nearly the base stealer or the speedster. He doesn't really bring the same skill.
And I predicted Will Smith, and instead the Cubs said, "Here's Derek Holland."
Please, can we? I was asking in the last series of the year. I'm like, is it possible?
I asked for Nikes. Why do you keep giving me Starberries?
It's can you please get Derek Holland off my roster? Please, make him go away. Let's make that a forgotten Cub.
Make him go away like the baseball that he pitched to Bryce Harper.
Yes, make it go.
He seems like a fun dude, but there's no need for him to be on the Cubs.
Does a really good weird Asian impression.
Oh no! I do remember that. Yeah. Swing and a miss on the Kevin Millar or whatever that show is.
Just nobody be on that show.
But anyway, I think next week. I don't know what you were thinking, but I think it would be cool to talk a little bit about who are we looking at for the Cubs to get, and what what guys do we expect to move? What realistically is going to happen? What idiot reporters keep saying KB is definitely getting traded? All of that crap. And
a lot of journalism that wouldn't, literally, I could not publish in my high school paper. Shout out Hinsdale Central Devil's Advocate.
It's,
like literally, I would not have been allowed to say that he will that he is likely to move if I couldn't prove why it was literally likely.
And I feel like there have been things even more than that, like Bryant almost certainly going to be traded.
Right.
Based on what?
Doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything. But yeah, so basically it was fun to, it's weird. We've never been, I guess the Cubs lost the wild card game last year, but it's weird to be this early in the playoffs and for you and me to be doing the podcast and not have much Cubs to talk about.
Well, and speaking of which, there is one thing I forgot.
Okay.
For win predictions, you said 93, I said 90. And I'm sad to report that I was closest.
You were. Yep. You.
But we all lost by Price is Right rules.
Yes, that's true. We all blew it. We all went over. Yeah, that's.
I recently found my little ticket from when I had bet $20 on the Cubs to win the World Series, and it made me sad.
Yeah, I have. Not only did it make me sad to find my tickets because I was in Atlantic City doing a weekend of stand up this February, I think, and I went in and put the bets down. Also put a bet down for our friend Sarah Sanchez over at Bleed Cubby Blue. And Cup of Cubby Blue. But I put a bet down for her, and then I put a bet down for my friend Dusty Shekels. But the bet I put down for him, he's a Cardinals fan. He put down a $100 bet on the Cardinals with pretty long odds. So I regret to report that his bet is still alive as well. So
what would that payout be if they won?
I don't know, but he had 100, and I threw in an extra 20 for him as a happy birthday thing or something. I was like, I just threw another 20 on it.
You cursed us, Kevin.
Yeah, well,
you bet on the Cardinals to win the World Series.
I did via him. Yeah,
God damn it.
It's a gift. It's a gift. So yeah.
The gift should have been here's $20 to make any other bet with, but not that one.
Well, I'm going to be in Vegas this weekend. I'm going to be in Las Vegas this weekend. So if we want to put any bets down,
let's do it.
That will to hex anything else. This is something we can do.
I bet I wonder what the Cubs World Series odds are for next year. They're probably not super high.
No, right. If they're. The weird thing is, growing up before you're gambling, you think you can bet on anything. Like you can just make up something and that you put money on it. Not typically how it works.
But you can at Thrive Fantasy.
At Thrive Fantasy. Put it together. Go to Away Games. But they have to be posted at the sports book you're at. So I will inquire, though. If you can bet on the Cubs to win next year's World Series, you better believe I'll be doing that in a silly manner. And then we'd get to for a really fun reason, we'd get to be able to plan a trip back to Vegas to collect the winnings.
Right. See. Yeah, no one's going to mail it in. Come on.
Yeah, no. Unless you're Theo last off season.
Hey!
All right. It'll be better this year, right? It has to be. It has to be more fun.
Please.
Please. Follow us at Away Games Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Anything else, Adam, before we get out of here?
I got nothing, man.
Boy, don't I have nothing. See ya. Thanks for listening.